I just had a therapeutic plasma exchange to do a major detox and filter out so many bad things that were in my system. I'm sitting down with Elizabeth Tringali today to tell you all about it. Hey there, and welcome to the Cinnamon Effect podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly, and I'm thrilled to have you with me on this vibrant journey of discovery and growth. This podcast is your go-to space for embracing intention, where you'll find clarity on your unique path, deepen those meaningful connections, and unleash your creativity like never before. We'll explore how to build unshakable confidence and celebrate the beauty of gratitude, all while savoring the calm that consistency brings to our lives. Thank you for being with me. Let's sprinkle a little cinnamon into your day and make life sweeter, healthier, and more fulfilling. Elizabeth Tringali is back, and we're talking about therapeutic plasma exchange, which I just had a couple days ago.
I'm so happy you did. I've been wanting you to do it forever. Can we talk about your issues, why we recommend it? Or
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So you have autoimmune issues,
yes,
and you have a lot of antibodies in your blood, different ones, not just for thyroid, but other antibodies. And therapeutic plasma exchange has been around since the 70s. Some physicians will say earlier, but that's when it was really being used in the hospitals. And those antibodies that are causing autoimmune disease and attacking the tissues are in the plasma. So if you clean up the plasma, you're decreasing that toxic burden and your immune system will work better. So that's why we did it on you.
Yeah. And we had talked about it, I think, for like almost a year.
Yes.
And I don't know why I waited so long. I had an element of a little nervousness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why. Because I listened to a podcast that you had sent me, Dr. Mark Hyman,
and then
you did your own about it. And I felt like exactly what you said. They've been using it in hospitals for so long. Kind of a tried and true.
It has more research than vitamin C IVs. It's super safe. There's no adverse events.
Yeah.
You were doing it in a hospital setting. But the reason I brought it into my office is I had gone to Costa Rica to do it several years ago because I had that long COVID. You heard how bad. So COVID took me out. I had it a couple times. Every time I had it, it made me worse. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to do something. So in the plasma, those dead viral particles, the cytokines, the inflammatory messengers made by COVID, all that junk, the plastics and pesticides, even mold, mycotoxins are in the plasma. So I went to Costa Rica to have it done. So I had to have faith. I did research on the clinic.
Again, early adopter of all of this.
Yeah, several years ago. So I went to Costa Rica, I had done. The procedure's about 3 hours, as you know. Mm-hmm. In 30 minutes, I felt so good. My brain was firing again. I felt like I was just kind of I couldn't think of words, and I'd look at your face and not remember your name. All of a sudden, not only could I think more clearly, but I had energy again. And so I thought, oh my God, I got to bring this to my clinic. So I partnered with a company called Circulate Health. And why I partnered with them is they've been doing it for longer. I'm not going to learn how to do this on my own all of a sudden and tell my patients I'm an expert. I want to partner with a company that's been doing it for years. And they did the studies on reversing dementia and longevity with plasma exchange. And all those are on our website if you want to see the studies. We'll put in the show notes.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that, actually. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yes, yeah. So if you are decreasing the toxic burden in the body, you're going to help reverse disease. And so in the hospital setting, they were using this for patients that had severe MS that the medications weren't working anymore, and they were in a wheelchair. Or if they had a vaccine injury like Guillain-Barré, where you develop this neurological, you almost feel like you're having a stroke. Your hands are numb and tingling, your feet, they call it stocking glove, and they'll do it to clean up the toxin from that immune reaction from the vaccine, again, in the hospital. So super safe for sick people that are dying, of some major neurological illness. And so I thought, gosh, if we could just bring this into the clinic, right, we can help so many people. And so then now we're doing it for more longevity, but I love it for autoimmune. Mm-hmm. And you're not taking out all the plasma in one sitting. It's plasma is about half of your blood volume. Plasma is the liquid portion of your blood, by the way. And so you're only taking out a unit, so a liter at a time, so you're not taking everything out. And then after you take it out, we give back, there are certain nutrients you do need that are in the plasma. Mm-hmm. So we'll give back vitamin C, some B vitamins, magnesium, calcium, and then immunoglobulins. So not a lot of clinics are doing that, but I always want you to have antibodies back, the good ones. I want to take out the bad antibodies, but I need to add back the good ones. And so that's IVIG. And you probably have heard about IVIG for MS. Have you heard of that?
No.
So there's just antibodies that help the immune system with certain autoimmune diseases. diseases, we just add those back because I don't want to take those out.
Yeah. So obviously for the autoimmune issues, that was our primary reason for doing it. But then the microplastics, the heavy metals, all of that stuff, right, comes out with the plasma.
Right. So they are publishing, it should be out by the time this podcast is out, hopefully, but they published a study showing how much plasma exchange reduces microplastics. And it's the only modality that has a study proving it lowers the microplastics. So I had a patient, his plastics were in the 98th percentile. That's that, I think it's called Plastic Tox. That's the test out. I think Brian Johnson actually originally made that test, but it's a blood test and it shows you how much plastic you have in your system. So he was in the 98th percentile with one plasma exchange. He went from 98 something to the 10th percentile with just one.
Wow.
And again, that would take me years of saunas and detox. And so, yes, there are other things you can do. You don't have to go right to plasma exchange, and I don't want you to. But for people that are busy, we're really busy, and have a lot of toxic load, it's a deep, safe cleanse that I can change you. I can change your physiology so quickly with just one session in 3 hours. And so if you look at all the supplements and all the IVs and all the saunas and things you'd have to do, you'd probably wind up spending the same amount of money over time. But when you have all the markers like you do in your body and like I did with long COVID, it's just a nice option, to change and raise the bar on how you feel.
Yeah, it felt like, I wanted a fresh start, like an oil change, and tune me up and get me rolling again, that kind of thing. So I think after the most recent round of blood work, we were like, okay, it's time. It's time. So we wanted to talk about it. So let's talk about the actual process of what it is, because a lot of people have no concept of what you're actually doing. So come into the office, you had a little private room, which was nice. The machine is there. You get an IV on either side, on either arm.
Yeah, you need both sides. You could do one side, if you say had breast cancer and you can't use one arm because they took out the lymph nodes. You could do on both sides. It just takes longer.
Okay.
And when they're taking out the blood to go through the centrifuge, we're not taking all your blood out. We're just taking a little bit at a time, goes to this machine that has all these fail safes on it. So even if, God forbid, there was a hurricane, the electricity went out, you'd only have a little bit of blood in that machine.
Okay.
So that scares people when they think oh my God, all my blood's in there. No, it's just a small amount. So, but you'll have access on both arms generally. So one is pulling the blood out, goes through the centrifuge, separates your white blood cells, your red blood cells, and the plasma. That's where all the toxins are. And then you add back fresh albumin and saline. And the albumin, I think, is the key because that's a protein we have in our plasma normally. But this is fresh, clean albumin, and albumin's a little sticky. And so what it does is it pulls out the rest of the toxins that are in the tissues. So you may notice that day or a couple of days later, maybe you're a little tired, but you should be eliminating more for the next few days. Did you notice that?
Well, I told you, I was I am pooping a lot.
And I was like, that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Yeah. Yes. So I definitely felt that. So I did not even really look because whenever I get an IV or anything, I do not look at the needles. I'm good. I don't want to look at you. I'm going to look in this other direction. I don't want to see it. So I didn't even really have a concept of a lot of blood coming out. I didn't look at the tubes.
The tubes, yeah.
It's I don't want to see it. But then after, because you are hooked up for 3 hours.
Yes, yeah.
After a while, I was fine. But I watched TV. I know she said some people sleep, but I did feel, it was funny because all of a sudden I felt my eyes were really tired. And I was oh, okay, now I get it. Now I feel like I could sleep, but I didn't want to let myself sleep for whatever reason. I was just I wanted to watch TV and just kind of chill out, but I felt fine. And then I almost got a little bit of a second wind towards the end of the treatment. And then by the time I drove home, I was oh, I'm tired. I am tired. My mother-in-law was you look very tired. And I was I feel very tired.
It could be the magnesium I'm giving you. Have you ever had the Myers cocktail in the office?
Yes, I have.
Does that make you tired?
Some
people get really tired.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Yeah,
maybe it does make you tired.
Magnesium is very relaxing, and it makes a lot of people tired because I'll have some patients that don't want the magnesium at the end, and I'm look, you want it because I'm taking out these minerals and vitamins. You want to add it back. But the ones that don't take that magnesium are less tired. But again, I think personally, I think that's wrong. I think you should take it, right?
Yeah.
So it could be the vitamin IV that we do at the end. But when I do it, I've done it 5 times now.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was trying to mimic what they did in the Alzheimer's study, the AMBAR study, where they did it like multiple times. Not that I have Alzheimer's, but I figured, hey, if it's good for them, it's good for me.
Yeah. Again, you're trying all the things.
There is dementia on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
that is a concern in the back of my brain, but I don't have any of the markers. I don't have the genetics. You can check your genetics for that. In fact, Quest has a whole panel that's covered by insurance that lets me see if you have any of the proteins that cause amyloid plaque in the brain and even the proteins that will cause neuroinflammation. So I am now using the plasma exchange for those patients. And again, I didn't have those, but I had the long COVID. I have a lot of cytokines, inflammatory markers. So I want to do a series to get those down because one is definitely helpful, but a series, of course, is more helpful. It's like exercising. Like any exercise is helpful, but probably the more you do, not too much, not excessive, right? The better your body is going to function.
Yeah, because I'm considering doing a second one.
Yeah, I think you should do 2 before we check your blood.
Okay.
I'm seeing that with the patients, but for patients that can't afford to do a lot, even one is bringing down the antibodies, bringing down the microplastics, which again, you'll see soon in that study. But for my autoimmune and my patients with those dementia markers, I'm noticing you have to do at least 2.
Okay. So autoimmune, dementia markers, what other patients is this really good for?
The chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and then patients with a lot of viruses. So Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, herpes virus, all those viral particles, dead viruses are hanging out also in that plasma. So I like it for those people. And then people with a lot of solvents, pesticides, chemicals, chemical toxicity.
Yeah, get it out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And people listening, like, we can't live in a bubble, right? I've said that before, but you have to decrease your total toxic burden, like your total toxic burden. So, your lotions all need to be paraben free and everything should be dye free, right? And chemical free. And like your makeup, I use Ilia or Crunchy is a brand I use. Like there's metals. Like if you're using MAC, sorry, MAC, I love you.
Yeah.
You're beautiful makeup. You're toxic,
Yeah.
Especially
absolutely.
like lipsticks, like what you're putting in your mouth, you're eating it. So like if you can't eat it, really shouldn't put it on your skin. That stuff winds up in the bloodstream within 6 seconds. So people that are really toxic with just like women more so than men, unfortunately. And think of your daughters, your children using like bath bombs and Bed Bath & Beyond and like Victoria's Secret. Again, love those companies, but they're not using clean ingredients. Even the Lululemon, which I love, and Biore, like all those microplastics are going into your system. Do not drink out of plastic. It's not a myth. It is real. If you're drinking out of plastic, because I'm measuring plastic in people, the people that drink out of plastic have way more BPA and microplastics in their blood and in their urine.
It's really happening.
And those are huge hormone disruptors, and they're xenoestrogens, meaning they look and act like estrogen, but they're not estrogen. And patients that have hormone-related cancers that were never on hormones, it's environmental. We'll do the workup. I'd say, I want to say 100%, but you shouldn't do that in medicine. But from my recollection, all of my patients that have had breast cancer, when I've checked them for the genetic markers, like I'll use the Myriad test, looking for BRCA and RAD51, looking for the genes, I'm not seeing the genes. But when I check them for the toxins, I'm seeing the toxins. So our cup is full. So plasma exchange is great for anyone that's really toxic, lethargic, chronic fatigue, inflamed. We had a tennis player that was just really, her joints were just really, really inflamed. And she was young and optimized. I did one and it changed her life. It was great. So think of any of those types of people, pretty much everybody.
I noticed, so when my plasma was coming out, the nurse was like, it looks cloudy.
Yes.
And she said she's seen different colors and shades and cloudiness and clearness. And she said it's not terrible, but the cloudiness is the inflammation.
Yes, it's the
right?
cytokines,
So
fibrinogen.
Oh, that inflammation is just sitting in that bag with
It looks like orange juice, right? Like
It does,
cloudy
looks like
orange juice.
Yeah.
So the first time I did it, mine looked like yours, like cloudy orange juice. I was like, ew, but I felt so great. And then after doing it a few times, it looks more like apple juice.
Okay.
But my smokers and toxic patients that have done chemo, their plasma is green.
Wow.
And some copper can do that, cadmium can do that, heavy metals, even birth control can do that because birth control is synthetic. And I want to talk about birth control really quickly.
I would love it. Go off. Go off on that.
It's a way of cheating. Your daughter is having irregular periods. She's 16. Put her on birth control. She's probably having sex anyway. That's what they do, right? If she's having irregular periods now and you put her on birth control, you're setting her up for infertility. Don't do that. That is a chemical that affects them for life. If you're using it for 1 year, probably fine. but if you're using it for multiple years and they're going to be on it in college, clean up the system, get the microplastics out, change their diet, get them off the sugar, check their microbiome, even check food allergies. Certain foods can cause an inflammatory and autoimmune attack on the body and can screw up fertility and hormones. So don't just put a kid on birth control, especially if they have acne. Like again, it's an easy way out. Yes, the hormones will cause acne, but the reason is the toxins in the body and the infection in the microbiome from eating crap.
Yeah. Oh, I think the birth control absolutely screwed my system up. I think I was on it for like 14 years.
And no one warns you.
Nobody tells you anything.
No.
You think that, I'm having sex, I need to be on birth control. And like, that's the end of the story, you know?
Yeah. And, obviously I don't want a lot of unwanted babies, but you can use some self-restraint and you can use protection. But just for treating acne, like, do something else,
Right. Yeah. Do something else. Yeah. I think, that it is a scary topic too. If you have a teenager, I would imagine. I'm not there yet, but
right. But you just got to teach them about safe sex and bring the Bible or Christianity into it. God said, don't have sex before marriage because he knew there's all these diseases out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen.
There really are. So protect yourself and, think about the people you're with. Like at 16, you're probably not going to marry that person, or 17.
Does plasma exchange help with like sexually transmitted diseases or anything? No.
I mean, it would help like lower the viral load for like herpes or something like that, but I wouldn't use it to treat that. There's homeopathics that are really good for that. Lysine is just an amino acid, great for that. Andrographis is an herb, really good for viral replication. Of course, zinc. Most people, when I check zinc levels, they're so low in zinc. And you need zinc for hormones, for acne, for hair and skin. And you're not seeing, because it's not really in our soil, enough of these minerals anymore. So people are low. So getting back to like why I like to do micronutrient analysis and check all the blood I check is because we're not getting the nutrients we need for our tissues to work properly.
Prior to therapeutic, which I was calling it a total plasma exchange, but therapeutic plasma exchange. Prior to you're like not really, I didn't work out. Actually, I didn't work out at all this week. I just kind of like took it easy, really concentrated on hydrating. On the back end, I haven't exercised. I'll probably exercise for the first time today. So I did it, what day was that? I did it Wednesday, I guess. And yesterday, I definitely did not feel like doing anything. I just still felt maybe a little tired.
You're still detoxing.
Yeah, detoxing. Obviously, a lot of pooping, I said. A lot of pooping was happening and today too. And then, so hydrating, I'll exercise today. But what are some of the things, like I obviously feel better, but what, like, are there any results that I should be looking for over the next week or couple weeks or...
So mental clarity. You should notice your focus and attention is better. Your mood might be better. Skin, you might notice you're a little more radiant because you're getting all the toxins that cause the dull skin. Joint pain should be less. Like I had a Parkinson's patient who, by the way, felt so good the next day he wanted to ride his bike 20 miles. And I said, absolutely not. That's too much. Because even though you feel good, you might cause an electrolyte imbalance because I just took out your electrolytes. And even though I gave them back, it's not the same as Mother Nature, right? Anyway, but he felt so good. But his joints, he said immediately, his knee pain went away. Immediately.
Wow.
And so you should notice that. I don't know if you have a lot of pain.
I don't have a lot of pain.
I don't think you do.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, and you felt really good going in.
I did. I felt pretty good.
Your labs don't match you, which is...
On paper, I look like shit.
Which tells me you're very grounded. You must do a lot of spiritual work, right? You must do meditate, you pray a lot, ground. Like, your attitude of gratitude and just attitude in general affects your health.
Yeah.
And so I think for you, you're a great example of that because even though your labs don't look so great, you feel great and you must have some sort of mantra or something. Do you do anything like that?
I think I do a lot of different things like that. And my mentality on life is the cinnamon effect and like making something better, even if it seems really bad. It's just kind of putting the spin on life that, you know what, this is working out for my highest good. And this may seem kind of bad, but we can get through it.
Amen.
And just kind of keeping that mentality. And I credit my grandmother who died at 97 and she never met a stranger and she loved everybody and she laughed and she was happy. And she did a lot of other funny things. Like she never swam in the ocean. She never drove a car. She never drank alcohol. She was just this unique little thing. And so I think like I try and carry a little bit of her with me that like, even if something is bad, it's maybe not that bad.
Well, that's
and we can get through it.
So great for your nervous system.
Okay.
Which does control your brain and your hormones. So keep it up. I just interviewed this famous integrative oncologist, Dr. Leanne Keneally, and I was asking her, like, what are the most important things when you're treating cancer? Thinking she's going to say certain herbs or things like that. She was saying, it's your attitude. She makes everyone journal. She makes you wake up and say 3 things that you have gratitude for. And then she gives everybody affirmations that they have to say throughout the day. I am healing, I am whole, I'm healthy, I'm cancer-free, things like that. Because then they've done studies on that. God, was it Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and Dr. Siegel back in the 90s? They have books on this and studies on this. Harvard's done studies on this too. They just show your attitude can help you get over any kind of adverse situation or disease. So that, I think, is working for you. And I want our listeners to really know, change your attitude, stop complaining and start being grateful for what you have. We live in a great country. We're not stuck in some place oh my gosh, who'd want to be someplace else right now? Like Iran, God bless those poor people, or Ukraine, the poor people there. We're so blessed to be in a safe country, right? We can see, we have vision, we can walk. So I'm grateful for my body.
Yes.
As much as I will complain about inflammation and things changing, my skin sagging, then I have to think, oh my God, there's so many wonderful things that my body is doing for me.
Yes.
And give credit to my feet for holding me up,
Yes.
So you have to really look at your attitude.
It's so true. I like Louise Hay.
Oh, yes.
All of her affirmations are incredible.
Amazing.
There is a YouTube video where it's over an hour, I think, of Louise Hay, and everything this is happening for my highest good. I am healthy. I am whole. I am, and she goes through everything. And it almost, I think, goes through money and how you think about money and, all of these different affirmations. And it's incredible.
Right.
I love Dr. Joe Dispenza too, because he's all about, changing
100%.
Changing the quantum. Yeah. And so I think all of that is really important. So you can take all the supplements, you can do all the things. But I think that if the attitude is not right, just like you said, that is going to
that's the most important
limit
thing.
you.
And that's free. That's free. Right?
It's free. It's
and
free.
I've got patients where their blood looks pretty damn good and they feel like crap. And so then I think, okay, well, what is the self-talk? Is it negative self-talk? What are you telling yourself? And they're not happy in the relationship, they're stressed at home, but how you handle stress really affects how you feel. In fact, I wear the Apollo Neuro because it helps me regulate my nervous system. So if you have trauma from childhood, which you're not even thinking about subconsciously, that can affect your health now. Something that happened years ago. So you have to address it. And I'm not saying this is the answer, but it does help me through stressful events during the day when I'm holding my breath.
Yes.
And I'm not focusing on breathing. And I'm not telling myself how, wonderful and blessed I am. So it's a nice little device for me.
No, I love that. And I do think a lot of it can be a nervous system issue. That a lot of us are walking around in fight or flight. Fight or flight.
Yes, sympathetic dominance. Yes, you had it right.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can take yourself out of that, and once you recognize what that feels like, then you want to seek that out even more. Because I noticed in my own, I feel like I'm in tune with what's going on, but when I know that I'm out of that fight or flight, that feeling, how can I get there? Is it a walk on the beach? Is it breathing? Is it meditating? Is it dancing? Is it what takes me out of that feeling and puts me back into this very calm, centered person, So
that's your secret. Now I know it's your secret. And you love dancing. Dancing does get you into parasympathetic. So does singing and even just humming. So when you're humming, you can't think negative thoughts. I learned that from Dr. Raven, who is the inventor of the Apollo Neuro. And he said, when you're having anxiety and you're really feeling hopeless, start humming and you stop perseverating. And you just stop focusing on all the negative. All of a sudden it kind of changes your attitude. And I also like box breathing. They do that with the Navy SEALs. And that's where you think of a box. And you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4 seconds, then you breathe out for 4, and you hold for 4 seconds. And you're supposed to do that for 2 minutes. And that will help you, more than anything else that you can buy. Just breathing and attitude.
The box breathing, I think, is the easiest one because people are like, oh my gosh, breath work, it could get more complicated. But the box breathing is just so easy to remember because you're just building that box. Right. And if you're visual like me, I am, I just picture that box the whole time.
Yes, I love it.
It's very calming. Yes. I wanted to be the first podcaster to do the therapeutic plasma exchange, but Joe Rogan beat me to the punch, right?
Yes. Yes. He has a lot of inflammation, I'm sure, because wasn't he a fighter? Right?
Yeah.
Originally,
he kind of looks inflamed. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. I think I'd love to see his blood, but hormones, if not balanced properly can make you very inflamed. So you have to make sure, again, we were talking about those pathways in our other podcast.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you're checking how you're metabolizing those hormones. Don't just keep giving him and just look at a serum, right? And if he has all these toxins, you're going to look inflamed too. But he was a boxer, right? So he's going to have a lot more inflammation, or fighter rather. He's got a lot more inflammation from all those years of fighting, and who knows what he took to get his body in tip-top shape.
Right. And did he go out of the country to do that?
No, he did it in Austin because he lives there, I believe, ways to well.
Okay. Do you travel around? Well, you go to a lot of conferences.
Yes.
And wellness like conferences.
I love them.
Do you go to different like wellness, like a place like that, or retreats or things like that?
I just went to Switzerland near Zurich, a biomedical, they call it biomedicine there. They don't call it functional medicine. So a biomedicine clinic with Dr. Rao, and he's a famous integrative physician, and he does a lot of like mountain medicine. And they do in Switzerland, which is interesting, and I asked them about this there. So this was just a few weeks ago that I went. They do something called in-use phoresis versus therapeutic plasma exchange. They don't have the TPE there. They have something where they're just filtering the plasma, so they're not giving you that nice fresh albumin that helps you detox even more. So they're doing a little more gentle cleanse, which is nice. And what's odd is we don't have that here. So it's just strange to me. But of the two, the therapeutic plasma exchange has way more studies and published literature on the safety and the efficacy. And it just makes sense if I'm taking out those inflammatory cytokines and dead viral particles and bad inflammatory messengers and antibodies. If I take those out versus just filtering them, you should have a better result. You know, in our office, we have the EBO2. Have you ever done that one?
No, I haven't. We talked about that as well.
Yes. So that's really hot right now and all over social media. And they call that the oil change, but really the plasma exchange is the oil change. The EBO2 is when you're removing a little bit of blood, it goes through a dialysis filter, and then it gets ozonated. And ozone is 3 molecules of oxygen. So it's supercharging the cells because you're oxygenating all the tissue. So you feel really good. And then it turns on the NRF2, the NRF2 pathway. So it's like metabolic pathway that helps you detox poisons and stuff. And then with ours, we run it through these UV lights, which optimizes your mitochondria even more. There's 6 different wavelengths of light that we run it through. That's our hemolumin, it's called. So we're doing photobiomodulation. At the same time, we're oxygenating the tissues and filtering out the poisons. And then it goes back in your system. And I got that again when I was feeling like crap. So that was like 2017, 2018. I brought that into the clinic, and I had mold toxicity at the time. So I love that for mold because it's helping to filter out those particles. So for someone that doesn't want to do like a therapeutic plasma exchange, which is a little more intense, this takes 45 minutes, a little more gentle.
Oh, that's not bad.
It just doesn't have all the research that the TPE has. You know, it's not like they're doing it in the hospital, but you still feel really good, and it does move the needle. In fact, in Italy, they are doing studies that the EBO2 or the EBU, they're very similar, is removing spike protein. You know, so from COVID, because we're finding, I don't know if I checked your level. I can't remember. Did I check your spike level?
Yeah, you thought maybe I had long COVID.
Yeah, I was wondering if you did. I can't remember. Do you remember your level?
I don't remember.
Well, my level is like
terrible.
Off the chart. It's greater, like my antibodies to the spike are so high. And so that could be why I felt so poorly. And I feel so good when I do anything like that detoxes it. But they studied that if you did 3 and then did a live blood cell analysis, which is what I just learned how to do in Switzerland, you could see that the spike protein was decreased. And actually, they were doing a blood test that we can't get here yet in the States. But Dr. Robin Rose, she promised me we were going to have it.
Wow.
So it wasn't just live blood. They did live blood. And they found in the live blood, it was removing some of the nanoparticles they saw from COVID, which is totally creepy and crazy that there's even such a thing.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, that EBO2 is great for long COVID, spike protein, viruses, chronic fatigue, mold, metals, and toxins. It just doesn't have the research, so I can't make a claim. It just clinically, when I see the numbers, people get better.
Okay, so maybe we throw that into the mix. A second TPE or the EBO2?
Yeah, we'll try it out.
Okay, well, Elizabeth Tringali, thank you so much for breaking this down. I feel great. I recommend the plasma exchange.
Well, you look
great.
great.
It's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the biggest thing that everyone can take home from this is work on your attitude of gratitude.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you
Tringali
for
Vibrant
having me.
Health. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Cinnamon Effect. If you enjoyed our time together, don't forget to hit that follow button on your podcast app and sprinkle a little love by leaving us a 5-star rating and a quick review. Your support means the world to me. For even more goodness, check out the show notes where you'll find links to some of my favorite products. And don't forget to visit thecinnamoneffect.com to connect with me directly or to grab your TCE Gratitude Journal, your next step towards a more grateful life. I can't wait to spice things up with you again next time. Stay vibrant, stay inspired, and remember to add a little cinnamon to your life every day.